Hello people, this is Sonali, the Melodramatic Bookworm. If you've been here before, welcome back, and if you're new to my channel, welcome to the Melodramatic Bookworm family. Also welcome to my March 2025 reading wrap up. March wasn't a great reading month for me. I read 6 books in March and it was a foggy, hazy time because of health issues and this and that and etc, etc. But I did read a couple of decent books and I did find a favorite towards the end of the month as well, which kind of gave me hope for April. So that slump that I was in, it's sort of wearing off, although I don't want to jinx it or anything. So without any further ado, let's dive right into my March 2025 reading wrap up and let me share with you the 6 books that I read in March 2025. First up was The Warbler by Sarah Beth Durst. This is a story of a woman who cannot stay in any one place for longer than 10 months or she starts growing roots to that place. So in her bid to escape those roots, she keeps moving from place to place. Now in her quest, she comes to Greenboro, but Greenboro has a curse of its own. It's that nobody can leave this town. So what happens when this woman who cannot stay comes to a town that won't let her leave? Forms the entire story. Now this book doesn't just follow her, it follows 3 generations and it talks about how women's agency is so important, and in the society that we have today, so many women do not have that agency. Every woman is different from the next except for our shared experiences, and every woman wants different things. And society does us a disservice by saying that this is what you should aspire for. This is what you need to have in your life in order to call it a successful life. This is what you need to be. You need to be a good wife, a good mother, and apart from that, they just seem to erase a woman's identity. So to read this story about agency and how different lives work in different ways, different lives want different things, it was a fantastic experience. I do think that it got sluggish towards the end and I wish it hadn't. It could have been a bit shorter, and I also think that she sort of rushed up the ending and things weren't clearer, but overall it's a fantastic book in the way it addresses these topics. Next was Water Moon by Samantha Soto Yambao, and this was such an irritating book to get through. I listened to this on Libro FM. I got an ALC of it, and it was this is the story of a pawn shop owner who retires and then passes it on to his daughter. Now this pawn shop deals in decisions or deals in choices, and a customer finds it only in specific circumstances. Otherwise it's a normal restaurant. So on the day when this main character is supposed to inherit this pawn shop, she wakes up to find that the pawn shop is in shambles and one of the choices is missing. So now a customer arrives and she and that customer, they have to set off on this whole quest to find her father, to find what exactly is going on, because if a choice goes missing, then she'll be in deep trouble. The problem with this book wasn't the narration. The narration was pretty good in my opinion, but it was the storytelling, the writing itself, because I feel like the author was just adding one thing on top of the other and she was not connecting the things that she had already told in the story before in order to turn it into a coherent story. It was just like, oh, in this chapter I'm going to bring out something new, and she does that till I think the last few chapters as well. In the last few chapters, what are we looking for? We are looking for resolution. But this author focuses more on novelty rather than coherence, and that sort of threw me off throughout. You need to have that glue. You need to have callbacks. You need to employ the devices that you already used later in the book and not bring out something completely new out of a magician's hat and say, hey, here, there's a new something I'm throwing at the story. I hope you like it. And unfortunately, I found this whole book to be one such long journey and it didn't work for me. Next was another huge disappointment, and I cannot even tell you the level of disappointment this book left me with. And that book was Children of Anguish and Anarchy by Tomi Adeyemi. This is the 3rd in the Orisha series. This was supposed to be the last book, but she is now talking about book 4 that is going to come out. I don't know when it's going to come out. She hasn't shared any details on social media yet. But this was such a huge disappointment. At the end of book 2, Zelly and all the Magi are abducted and they wake up to find themselves on a ship. So in this book, we find out where exactly they are. Completely new tribes that are so irrelevant to the whole world building of the first 2 books are introduced in this book. And you find new worlds. Fine, the world building of those new worlds is fantastic. But the thing is, this book, it sort of becomes so repetitive because you're reading the same thing over and over again. Every single one of these characters, be it Zelly or Amari or Inan or Zain, all 4 of these are like the weight of what has happened weighs on my shoulder or something to that effect. I'm like, what are you doing? There are some important characters from books 1 and 2 that don't even make an appearance here. After such a long gap to come up with this, to just say, okay, I'm going to write whatever comes, catches my fancy, and I'm going to give it to the readers without any consideration of how that story is being built. Because this is not good storytelling. This is not the Tomi Adeyemi that I know. The first book, I gave 5 stars. The second book, it went a little downhill, but it was still good. But this one, I can't even fathom what happened here. And that ending, what in the world was that ending? 10 pages. Huh? And one more thing is, if you don't have a plot, no amount of beautiful writing will help it pull it together. Oh, heavy disappointment. Next was This Wild Catastrophe by R.T.V. Raman, and this is a love story. This is between a woman in STEM and a cricketer, Aussie cricketer. Now this is a story of Queenie, who is currently in kind of disgrace and in Barons Bay, and Noah is over there for a camp, for a cricketing camp. He has been expelled from Australian cricket or whatever because of some issues that he had. So one day when Queenie goes to confront her bully at a party, her bully makes her feel some sort of way, and Queenie is like, what do you know, I have a boyfriend. And she turns around, she finds Noah and she kisses him. Now these two sort of click, they spend time together, and next day when they wake up, a video is circulating with the 2 of them in it. Now Noah can't see his career go down the drain because he's worked hard to be where he is right now, and Queenie doesn't need all of this in her life all over again. So now they come to an agreement where it's a sort of fake dating trope, and this was a fun read. I really enjoyed. R.T.V. Raman's writing is very fun, very Indian, very modern. This one was also one such, but there were few things that I did not like about this. For example, every time his eyes darkened, and it was way too many times, his eyes turned obsidian. Pardon me? It was a little too stretched out in my opinion, but overall it was a very good read. It talks about trauma and parental relationships and whatnot, and I enjoyed it, apart from these minor issues. And those are not even issues if you ask me, but yeah, that's what it is. Next was The Mirror Cracked from Side to Side by Agatha Christie, and I read this with my book club, and we all agreed that this wasn't the usual Agatha Christie fare. This is the story of Marina Gregg, a film star who comes to live in St. Mary Mead. Now Heather Badcock is a huge fan, and one moment she's talking to Marina Gregg at the party that Marina has thrown, and the next she has been poisoned. But who was it really intended for? Now Marina's behavior, her countenance showed something odd, and people are now investigating on it. Jane Marple has also entered the chat, and she is now conducting a whole different investigation from her perspective. All well and good, but somehow this story didn't come together. There was something missing, especially towards the end, where it felt very rushed. Where did Marple get her answers from? How did she arrive at those conclusions? There's nothing. She just gives answers and leaves. Agatha Christie usually makes sure that all the answers are there, even the paths to arriving at these answers are usually there. But here there was nothing. I would have loved to have understood in more detail, because she does give a couple of clues here and there, but it's not that clear. I mean, I know that it's the author not taking the reader to be a dumb person, that she has full faith and confidence that we are going to bring it out, but I want to know the author's perspective because it's her story. That didn't happen. It didn't give the actual feel of it. Even Body in the Library was better than this one, and this is the 9th in the Marvel series. It was disappointing, but it was not the worst. It was a good story, but it was not the best. And last but not the least, and my favorite from March, is Undertow by Jahnavi Barua. And this is such a fabulous book. It's so wonderfully written. It just does something to your psyche. This is a story of Loya, who is 25 years old. She comes to Assam. She is an elephant researcher. So she goes there to Kaziranga, but also she has one other mission. She has to meet her grandfather, Torun. And she tells her mother this only after she reaches there. Now, 26 years ago, Rukmini fell in love with a Malayali and she got married to him, and she was cast out. And she hadn't had any contact with the family ever since. Now, Loya is seeking answers for how her mother was treated from her grandfather, who is still there. Her grandmother, Usha, who had been the one to cast out her mother, is now no more. So now she goes there looking for answers. And what answers does she find is what this fabulous artful masterpiece is all about. I tell you, if you haven't read this book, go read it. You don't even need to watch the rest of my review for that. Just go read it. I'm just kicking myself that I waited so long to read this book, that I kept procrastinating on it, and I was sleeping on it. And I don't know why. I'm like, what were you doing? But this is the story of relationships, how relationships change over time. Mostly a mother-daughter relationship that is so different from other mother-daughter relationships, because each mother-daughter relationship is so unique on its own. And to see how Jahnavi Barua has crafted this story with such minimalism, but also with such power. And as she says, she loves being minimalist with her stories, and I love that about her. I don't even know what else to say, because this is such a wonderful peek into all of these relationships, but also a peek into heartbreak. It's also a peek into how one feels when family is wrenched away from you, and how it feels when you finally find that lost family. Plus the weight of mistakes, the burden that you carry, the weight of regret, the weight of guilt that holds you down, that chips away at your insides before it sort of takes over you. If you're going to pick this book up, and I highly recommend that you do, keep a box of tissues close by you, because you're gonna need it. Because that was how I was. I was like full on sobbing, hiccups and all. I was sobbing at 1:30 in the night. And I love it. So that was my March 2025 reading wrap up. What did you think of this video? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Which of these books have you read? Are you thinking of reading any of the books mentioned in this video? And what books did you read in March? Did you find any favorites? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. If you like this video, please like it and share it to spread the word. And if you like my content and would like to see more from me, don't forget to hit subscribe and click on the bell icon beside the subscribe button to get notified as and when I post new videos. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Until next time, keep reading, keep watching, and add melodrama to your life.